There's no place to escape to.
This is the last podcast.
On the left.
What was that? Well, we're going to talk about a dude who is an ultimate failure today.
We've heard this piece of shit's name so often over the last couple of years, we thought, why don't we get into this rat face piece of shit?
Yeah, why not? His name is Israel Keys.
And I'll tell you what, watching those, the FBI interrogation videos, I learned nothing. It is fucking boring!
Well, Israel Keys was a nomadic serial killer from Washington State and Alaska who, between possibly 1996 and definitely 2012, killed at least 4 people through shooting, stabbing, or strangulation, although the FBI believes the body count is more like 11 at the very least.
He's also a 4-eyed, tiny-chin, butt-sucking nerd who is somewhere between Robert Hansen and BTK, which to me means he's a diaper boy that needs to be thrown in the trash.
No reason to demean the butt suckers out there. Nothing wrong with that.
Well, Keys was actually a serial killer fanboy from a young age. But interestingly, even though it could be said that Israel Keys has much more in common with BTK in both method and lifestyle, Keys said he wasn't a fan of Dennis Rader. Because in his opinion, BTK was, quote, a wimp for apologizing for his crimes.
I don't know if I could... I didn't know that I could have the same amount of disdain come out of me for a person that BTK originally made me feel that I am now attaching to Israel Keys. Israel Keys is almost, in a fucked up way, making me defend BTK.
Oh, why? How?
We'll get to Israel Keys' sudden demise and how that, to me, makes him a weak, right, versus BTK, who actually saw his bullshit through the end. I'm sitting here, I'm in BTK's corner now.
Wow, this guy must be pretty bad.
See, Israel Keys was not your psychotic spree killer, nor was he killing for company or profit exclusively. Israel Keys, again like BTK, killed simply because he liked it. He was controlled, meticulous, and until the end, disciplined.
Okay.
Fucking nerd.
It sounds like it.
But while people like Nancy Grace like to play up Keys as a sophisticated monster, inflating the body count into the 30s, 40s, or even 50s to make him seem like more than what he really is, we think Keys could best be described as the new metal serial killer.
I'd put it that way.
Really?
He is, I'd say he's the equivalent of serial killers to a well-razored chin strap beard.
Interesting.
Well, both extremely aggressive and horribly whiny at the same time.
Which is fucking Israel Keys to a fucking T.
Yep, nu metal was the music of choice for both rebellious, overly emotional dickhead kids like myself and dead-eyed, overzealous, evangelical, alcoholic atheists who never matured past the age of 15, like Israel Keys.
Israel Keys is the most, you're not my dad, of serial killers that I've ever seen.
But in particular, Keys was a huge fan of the more theatrical nu metal bands like Coal Chamber and Slipknot.
I love Slipknot.
Yeah, I love Slipknot too. But you gotta admit, both bands share a certain pouty rage.
Can we just get back to Israel Keys?
So the point is, while I'm of course not saying that Israel Keys was in any way inspired or driven by these bands, he certainly had that sullen, know-it-all, fuck the world mentality that made nu metal so attractive to teenagers like myself in the late 90s.
He just thought he was so much smarter than everybody else, and that he was this fucking evil genius he was playing everybody against each other. When it comes down to it, there's a lot that can be said for having a fuck ton of patience when patience is the thing that makes you horny.
And we're not minimizing the immeasurable amount of pain and suffering that Keys inflicted on his victims and their families. But at the end of the day, while Israel Keys is indeed fascinating, he's more of a bargain bin BTK than a criminal mastermind.
Oh, shit!
Fucker. You piece of shit.
Shots fired, my God.
He's not the fucking Riddler.
No.
Okay?
No.
He is not stealing the Hope Diamond from the Smithsonian. He is not a criminal mastermind. There's a lot of stuff in being a mastermind. He just has patience. Perseverance. There's a lot to be said for it.
Yeah.
Because that's what Israel Keys had, where he could sit and plot out his time. That doesn't make you smart.
No.
Because especially if it's the thing that's extending your pleasure. You shouldn't even get an award for the thing that is the thing that makes you pop harder when you do the murder. That is one of the things.
Imagine so.
I don't know if you noticed that. If anybody else sits and watch the hours of footage of Israel Keys, his nervous reaction laugh in laughing in his own jokes. And I'm a comedian. I laugh at my own jokes all the time, but I put comedian on my taxes. Okay, it's just like
Right.
Unfortunately, this is what I am. You're saddled with it. You and our listeners are saddled with this fucking fate.
No,
But Israel
I know,
Keys laughs at every single fucking thing he says, and he does one of the worst laughs I've ever heard, and it's just straight up like.
But it makes me laugh when you do that, because it is kind of funny. All right, this guy he's really adding up to be one of the biggest pieces of shit we've covered so far.
Well, the way the chat line worked was that a person would leave a greeting that others could listen to, then the people who listened to your greeting would leave a message in your inbox if they were interested.
Hey, what's going on? Name's Israel, like the white country. I love Slipknot, getting laid, and I love skateboards. And that's my laugh, which accompanies me everywhere I go. Which is
the worst laugh.
I can't wait to stab your guts with my love pencil.
But Israel had fucked up his message.
What an idiot.
Is it after the beep? Is the beep before or after? Does the beep mean the end or the...
That concludes your message. Are you satisfied?
And trying to leave a voice reply for another woman who had responded to his ad, Keys had recorded over his original greeting.
Yeah, I'll definitely smear that ass with my love jelly. Yeah, sure, absolutely. Did you... Will you love it? Is that the message? Which is at the beginning or the end of the... Oh, I don't...
Are you satisfied with your recording?
How much does this fucking cost me, bro?
The two of them made plans for a date, and after a long lunch, they took a drive, they ate dinner at Applebee's.
The best part about the special meal is that you can get apps with the dinner entree.
Yeah, you can. I know all about that.
He also noticed that around this time, Israel started to change. He started listening to exclusively nu metal, whereas before, he could enjoy an Ace of Base single every once in a while.
I never listen to Ace of Base, and I'd like to see proof of it. If you've got proof of it, I would like to get a hold of it before we can put it to court, okay?
All right.
Because I never once listened to Ace of Base.
Well, if you never listened to Ace of Base, what did they see? What did they see? I hope you don't get this answer wrong.
I saw the sign.
You saw the sign. See, that's a song, isn't it?
Eyes, I saw the sign. Nothing don't matter without understanding.
See, until his last victim, Keys never murdered close to home. He would rent a car, drive to where no one knew him, abduct someone, take them to another state to kill them, then take them to another state to get rid of the body.
This is where people start calling him a mastermind.
It's not that.
It's just driving.
It's just driving. It's not masterminding.
No, and then he'd use excuses, because he'd have to get away from his family, and he'd say stuff, being like, I gotta go to the CD store to make some returns, and then be gone for 5 days. Yeah, because that's how he would hint that he would murder people. It's like, you know that lake that's out by, it's like Manchunkalunka Lake.
I like that lake. Yeah,
Have you been over there?
That's one of my favorite. It has a lot of leeches in it, and I love.
But I tell you what, it's 700 feet deep.
Yeah, how do you know that?
I took a ruler.
With his .22 in the pocket of his jacket, Keys walked up and ordered an Americano.
I want it extra hot, please. Because that's the only way I can drink it, is if it burns my fucking throat. People are like that, though. I don't understand super hot Americano. I don't understand it.
No clue what's going on. It's a sociopath's drink. That's why I like my frappuccinos, as we figured out.
And we don't know exactly what he did on that cruise, but after returning, Keys decided to rob a couple of banks before heading back to Alaska.
I mean, to be fair, we know exactly what he did on that cruise. You just lay out, you put a bunch of suntan lotion on your body, desperately attempt to avoid getting that shit sickness where someone defecates on their hand and then rubs it on your face. I don't know what happens on cruises.
I got really sunburned first day, and I had to spend the rest of the time in my room. You've ever seen Home Alone 2?
Yeah, I
The
saw
only
it.
thing you gotta do is get a light set up and then get the wires to get her arms moving like she's dancing to a song. And nothing better than slapping some crawling in my skin.
Israel, I hate to break it to you, that was Home Alone 1. That was just Home Alone 1.
What?
Yeah, you were actually wrong about that. Yeah, Israel.
I fucking hate being wrong, dude.
This guy, he is probably the whiniest bitch we've ever covered.
Easily.
Yeah.
Well, at Connor's Bog Dog Park, Keyes tacked the ransom note and the Polaroid under a missing dog flyer near the park's entrance. With that in place, Keyes turned on Samantha's phone and sent this text to her boyfriend.
Connor Park sign under pic of Albert. Ain't she purty?
Just the fucking, feels just rage. So much fucking rage.
I want to punch this motherfucker so hard in the face.
Listen, I've watched hours of his fucking. I hate this piece of shit.
Yeah, I
hate him
it.
so much. You watch him talk.
Yeah.
I just want. It's like just fucking hit him with the chair.
Transporting the body all in one go would draw too much attention, so he took 2 different trips to a frozen lake and disposed of the body through a hole in the ice under the guise of going ice fishing. He even went as far as to build a little hut for himself to keep up the ruse. And that was necessary, because on that first day, there was actually another dude out there on the lake with him.
It's just he's also dumping a body into the lake.
Hey, partner. Hey, partner.
Yeah, what are you doing? You're fishing. Yeah, me too. Yeah, fishing. Yeah, yeah, fishing.
Well, he figured that if he kept switching cars while withdrawing money, the cops would never catch up to him. But when he went to trade in his white 2012 Ford Focus, he was annoyed to receive a white 2012 Ford Focus.
No, sir. This
Forget it.
This is all we have for you is a 2012 Ford
I don't
Focus.
think you understand. I showed up with one of these, and I don't want another one. Is it working?
Here's a red Sharpie if you want to go color it in yourself, bud.
I love hard work, and I'll work harder than you juke. I'll work harder than anybody who's ever lived.
Did you just call me a juke, sir? I don't even know if that's an offensive term
You
or not.
shut up!
I
You
don't
shut
know.
up and don't tell me what curse words are, because I'm always right, and I'm never wrong. That's my crying noise.
And so the pastor started talking about the evils of atheism.
Oh, great.
Now, Israel took this as a personal attack. And honestly, he might have actually been right to think that in this case.
Yep. He went to go live his own atheist style, and he was super new metal about being atheist, so he was like all about, like, he wore a shirt that said God with the Ghostbusters like cross out on top of it, like he's that type of guy.
Right, okay.
But regardless, even if it is directed at you, it's your sister's wedding.
Yeah.
You'd stay fucking quiet.
Right, you just got to eat it, yeah.
But what Israel did instead was stand up and yell this.
Your gospel has no grounding in truth.
Then he walked up to the altar, smugly smiled, and said, quote,
Not everyone shares your beliefs.
All right, well, sometimes you got to stand up for yourself. He's just such a piece of shit.
he's just so fucking awful. And then he just left. And that was his last weekend as a free man. As a few days later, the Texas Highway Patrol caught up to Israel Keyes.
All right.
And of course, Israel Keyes couldn't leave without telling the world what he thought of him one last time.
Uh-oh.
And did so in a long-winded, nu metal-influenced slam poetry suicide note.
Oh, God. That's the worst kind of suicide note. A
Now-
slam poetry one.
Everyone, please enjoy the worst piece of poetry ever written.
Really?
Let's get this started with a little bit of a beat, Marcus. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, bro. All right. As metal explodes, you may have been free, you loved living your lie. Fate had its own scheme, crushed like a bug, you still die. Soon now, You'll join those ranks of dead, or your ashes the wind will soon blow. Family and friends will shed a few tears, pretend it's off to heaven you go. But the reality is, you were just bones and meat. And with your brain also died your soul. Land of the freak, land of the lie, land of scheme, Americanized. Consume what you don't need, stars you idolize. Pursue what you admit is a dream, then it's American die. Get in your big car so you can get to work fast on roads made out of dinosaur bones.
There's so much more left.
There's a lot more of this left.
Can I
Land of the freak, land of the lie, land of the scheme, Americanized. You're my love at first sight. And though you're scared to be near me, my words penetrate your thoughts now in an intimate prelude. The more guileless the gaze, the better potential to fill up those pools with your fear. Violent metamorphosis.
Oh my God. Can you just kill yourself, Israel, already? Kill yourself, Israel.
I'm not done with my song, dude. And can you see my fucking head? You see my head tilts?
I know your head tilts are very good. You're like West Borland.
I would come often and worship on the altar of your flesh. Watch close while I work now. Feel the electric shock of my touch. Open your trembling flower, or your petals I'll crush. Drowning in my feet.
Oh my God. Wow. That was the worst. Thank you. We are all dumber for hearing what you had to say.
Because you could see him, like, writing it out, just going like, yeah.
Yeah, this is it.
Yeah, this is fucking killer.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I gotta send this to Chester.
Yeah, you better send it to Chester. That's going to be a huge hit for Limp Bizkit.
Well, the only satisfying part about the death of Israel Keys is knowing that his funeral service was overseen by the pastor that Keys had heckled at his sister's wedding.
That is funny.
And the pastor spent the whole time talking about what an awful person Keys was and how he was currently burning in hell.
Okay.
But regardless, just know that a big part of the reason why Keys talked was so people would know what he did and would think that he was a big, scary criminal mastermind. And for the most part, the media took the fucking bait.
Always do.
But while Keys did indeed cause a lot of suffering and a lot of pain, we're not minimizing that, he was not Professor fucking Moriarty, nor was he even among the scariest serial killers to ever exist. He was nothing more than a smug, whiny, immature little dickhead who couldn't figure out anything better to do with his time on this earth than kill people.
He attempted to be a unique monster, but in the end, all these guys boil down to the same loser.
Yeah.
It's
Right,
all
right.
just
Always.
the same
Always.
loser that couldn't get his shit together enough to mentally to just love his life. Being like, you had everything. You had love.
Right,
You
yeah.
had family. You had a good job. You had all the things that a normal person it would be enough for.
Right.
And you felt that it wasn't, but it's just because the thing that you were lacking, nobody could ever fill, and you probably just should have been aborted.